Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. So the map in front of you might look weird. You know, if it's a prediction for which Senate seats flip in the future, I give you the right to call me schizophrenic. Kentucky flips, and yet New York now has two Republican senators, and Illinois has a Republican senator. And somehow Michigan only has one Republican senator, and Georgia, both of their senators hold. Now, this map looks pretty ludicrous, but to the average online leftist, this is how the Senate composition is right now. I forgot to mention Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii is pretty weird. But to the average termly online leftist, this is how the Senate composition looks as of now. Because the House bill, the CR, just recently beat the filibuster. Like I'm recording this an hour after the fact, so I'm pretty sure a few of these guys won't, or senators won't vote for the bill itself, but they voted just to end debate for the bill so that it could be voted on, which the filibuster isn't actually on the bill itself. It's for debate on the bill. That's a separate topic, and that's a good topic for like 2021. Uh, I think we've moved past that. But Democrats decided to avert a government shutdown because, it's probably not a great look if your party votes 47 out of 47 to cause a government shutdown. This all started when Chuck Schumer, the Democratic minority leader, announced that he would vote for the CR to continue funding the government, which spurred some outrage on the left. But Democrats were fine with it as long as the CR didn't pass and as long as the government wouldn't or would collapse. But sadly for them, who definitely root for American interests, can you see I'm a partisan channel now? This is exactly what TPC wants. Trust me, we'll get to him later. But TPC, see how I get twice as many views as you while still being a partisan? How's that looking, buddy? But I must compose myself. Where was I? Ooh. But Chuck Schumer spurred a lot of outrage when he announced that. But the worst thing for Democrats is that the bill actually passed. Had it failed, you could have swept this under the rug as Chuck Schumer's folly, but quite a few Democrats ended up voting for the bill. Now, the map is pretty weird. Um, it's interesting because you have two retiring senators, Michigan's Gary Peters and New Hampshire's Jeanne Shaheen. Where Jeanne Shaheen recently announced her retirement. That's a race to watch in 2026. But it also has some familiar faces. In case anyone followed the 2022 midterms, Pennsylvania's John Fetterman and Nevada's Catherine Cortez Masto decided to vote in favor of the CR. But that wasn't it. New York, New Hampshire, and if I'm not mistaken, Hawaii's senators ended up voting for the CR. Now, I'm not sure about that. I actually should probably check here. Brian, yeah. I think it's I think that you have the other senator up in the class 3. But anyways, you did have quite a few senators from 2028 and even some senators who are up in 2030 vote against shutting down the government. So the online left is or not arguably, what the hell am I saying there? The online left is very angry at this. As we see from my Termly Online check-in, so a window into how the average Democratic base. I told you we talk about TPC again. Yeah, this account is TPC. Um, I don't know why anyone would care for this, and it's funny because it says last edited 5:47 p.m., which I assume he said primary these two, and then it, it it turned out he's an idiot, and these two are resigning or not resigning. Oh my god, retiring. So this is the instant result. Primary all the senators, and it makes sense for TPC. He had Pennsylvania going likely Democrat, so he believes that's a solid blue state. And that obviously you don't need John Fetterman. You can run what's her name, the Allegheny representative, and she would obviously win big. Don't run Connor Lamb or Chris Delugio. Run someone great, like an open progressive. What is it? Illinois. I mean, I could get Illinois. And Hawaii. Those aren't really competitive. He's a complete idiot for saying primary Angus King, because in case you looked at the Senate map, he's an independent. And like, if you're going to tell me, since if this goes to a runoff, if they try to primary him in 2030, by the way, we're thinking that far ahead, um, over a CR. Remember that. But if we're thinking that far ahead, don't you think Republicans are going to vote for him over the Democratic primary challenger in the general election? Like, are you stupid? Were you dropped on your head as a child? I mean, obviously, the political castrate probably isn't the best source to turn to for bright intellectual political takes. That would be me. Self plug. Subscribe, people. But obviously, we put no thought into this. But there is a very dangerous idea in here, which is we primary out everyone who upsets us. And it's not even that, because as you can see in the comments, uh, Democrats, they're not just going to they're not going to the extent of like, yeah, we'll primary them with someone who is a partisan voter. Instead, their idea is primary them with a progressive, which I bring up 2024. I have this tab open at all times, but I bring that up because this is not the state that you want to run an open progressive in. New York, you might say, oh, it's a D plus 12 state, and you could point out basically every Democratic senator is a progressive. Is just how they message, but that's once again against the point. You could say that perhaps this would be a good state to run a progressive in. Well, today I'm going to be going over why that's a terrible, terrible idea for Democrats and completely impossible. So we'll start off with why that's a terrible idea electorally, which is probably what made you click this video. I know you, I see you, but this state, New York, it's trending heavily Republican, but Democrats still have some saving graces, which is if you look at the shift map, downstate is it's falling off a cliff. There's no saving this. Even Westchester and Rockland are shifting heavily Republican, but upstate it's shifting Republican on average. Tompkins and Yates were the only counties actually to shift Democrat in the entire state. Some came close, but ultimately, besides for those two, every county ended up shifting to Trump compared to 2020. But it's not shifting as Republican as you would expect from a state where, the Bronx shifted 22 points Republican. A way to make them vote solely Republican, you know, in the same respect as like 2022 for governor, where the state overall consistently shifted, 17, 18 points, while a little bit more of it was Long Island. Still, you saw 16, 15-point shifts out of the north of New York. You know, Zeldin was winning counties like Broome and Essex and Saratoga and Columbia. Actually, maybe not Columbia. And Rensselaer and Dutchess County. It was getting close in counties like Erie, Onondaga, Monroe, and even places like Schenectady. They're not shifting as Republican as they shifted for that gubernatorial race in these federal elections. But if you run AOC, I'm pretty confident that you're losing. So we already apply these shifts in New York City. We'll be generous to her. We'll say she only loses, 25 points. I think that's fair. Once again, you will have to probably that's later reapply these trends because it shifted 22 points in 4 years. It'll be another 4 years until Schumer's seated up, and 6 until Gillibrand's is off. And if these people want to pretend that Kamala Harris will win 2020 in a landslide, I don't think primarying out Kirsten Gillibrand with AOC in a red wave midterm is a great idea, people. But they're much smarter than me. They were only 20 points off in their predictions, while I was off by point 0.2. So I should be schooled by them. But I'd say probably a large shift in New York City. I will also say Long Island, less of a shift, 20-point shift, but still a big shift. Nassau and Suffolk kind of revert, in some respect, to their Zeldin 2022 marches, maybe a little bit bigger. They'll shift Rockland and West. By the way, these are shifts from 2020 because Election Shuffler just refuses to put out data for 2024. Maybe it's their way of coping. But out of Westchester and Rockland, we'll say like maybe a 15-point shift collectively, a little bit less Rockland is shifting somewhat Republican, while Westchester shifts 5 points Republican. We're being kind. And then the rest of the state will say like, eh, you know, a 10-ish point shift out of the upstate region, which already makes the state like a 6 point win. But this is for the presidential ballot. I'm assuming that, the Democratic nominee isn't that great, but has some appeal to suburbanites. You can definitely see there's more of a shift in the south of New York, but upstate, even though they're not holding up too well, and actually this upstate is probably trending more Republican than it did in 2024, they're still doing okay. They didn't lose too many counties. Essex, Broome, Saratoga, Rensselaer, and Dutchess are the only counties that flipped. Republicans didn't even get any flips downstate because they already kind of hit their ceiling there. But let's assume you run AOC for Senate, and she's primarying out an incumbent Democratic Senate minority leader. So you already got that baggage, but also at the same time she's AOC. If you want a way to take all of that stuff about, oh, upstate isn't actually shifting that Republican, and throw it out the window, AOC is the perfect candidate. Why? One, I can show this and show that like progressivism won two count. The state at large was relatively close, and progressivism won two counties here. You look at these, and even the Democrats are against progressivism, but we'll get to that later. And two, these areas are, they're not really ancestral Republican, but they're definitely more anti-Trump than like New York City. New York City is a Trumpy area. You even saw it swing Republican in 2020, but upstate, 2016 it was much more Republican than 2020. Um, Juby has been slipping a little bit here for a while. If you want a way to revert it to 1988, AOC is the perfect candidate for you. So I think we can assume, maybe another 10-point shift out of there. That already makes the state down the wire. We haven't factored in Westchester and Rockland. If you want a candidate who is pure poison to the suburbs, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is perfect for you. 10-point shift. How's that? Well, doesn't actually fit the state, but Long Island and Staten Island, which we're going to include the same. And it will include Queens and Kings, because even though she represents part of Queens, I really don't see her doing that well there. And Kings is Brooklyn, obviously. I know that from here. But especially southern Queens and the more Asian parts of Queens, I think shift pretty Republican, which means that Queens is now barely Democrat. But you might even see the Bronx and New York County, Manhattan swing a little bit Republican, just because a lot of the establishmentarian areas in here wouldn't like her. So already, I feel like I am overestimating the shift a bit downstate, but that's to compensate with upstate. It, underestimating the shift here a lot. I could definitely see it shifting more than this, like Onondaga County, Monroe, Ulster, not Albany. I could see definitely these three counties flipping Republican, but already that's a great idea to take it from like, oh, he's a de facto Republican, Chuck Schumer. He's such a dino. It feels weird to say and not say rhino, because like rhinos actually disagree with the GOP on policy. Dinos vote for one resolution to not completely collapse the government. That's a great way to take it from a likely Republican state here, which means a Democrat voting alongside Republicans, to a Republican state, a Harris plus 12 state, 4 years later, having a Republican senator because you nominated the Mark Robinson of New York. Except it's not even because she had a scandal, it's just because she's that bad of a politician. But these people worship her. And now the second phase of this video, which is this is not happening. You live in la la fantasy delusion land. I really can't speak for the rest of these places. And I definitely think Dick Durbin would be hard. Illinois is a bit more of a corrupt state, not really a progressive state. Shats, I could see it. Hawaii would be closer than usual, but I think the Hawaii Democrats are pretty progressive. Fetterman, good luck with that. I mean, running, you could run on so many things against Fetterman, but like running on, he voted for the CR. Like, that's a way to take a pretty good primary challenge because he's really pissed off everyone and throw it out the window. Catherine Cortez Masto, good luck. Good luck. Angus King already said why that's stupid. Kirsten Gillibrand, this kind of applies. Has you think New Hampshire is going? going to take kindly to Maggie Hassan being primary. You could have fucking 2006, and half of these people you primary them. Like you got a good chance of losing their seats. Like you primary Maggie Hassan, John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto. You can have a D+12 wave, and you're still losing those seats because like you have no one good here, and like they are overperformers who can win states that are competitive. Two of the three won states that Trump won, and they weren't particularly close in spite of what DPC said. Actually, DPC said they wouldn't be close. He said that they would be likely Democrat. And one of them represents a narrowly Harris state that is more Democrat down or more Republican down ballot. And has the menace of the former governor Kristen New floating around. You also have Ayotte, who could run. That would actually be hilarious if that was the revenge matchup of 2016. You also have Scott Brown. So the New Hampshire GOP has pretty good recruits, and I just it's not a state that primaries incumbent senators, but New York I can speak to. So we have two races here. This is 2018. I hate how this website looks. Before 2019 is okay, but 2020 is where New York Times actually figured out how to do election websites. I hate this, and I hate how there's no size of lead, and I hate everything, and I hate everyone. Uh, the, the, I need to take my meds. But anyways, this is what the 2018 statewide primaries looked like, and also you got the legislature primaries. The House primaries were pulled off to a different date. So Cuomo wins in a surprisingly close matchup, but not really that close matchup with Cynthia Nixon, who's just like a random activist. If I'm not mistaken, she's just kind of irrelevant. Who we're not going to be focusing on her, but the main things to realize is Tompkins County, and some of upstate is willing to vote for her, but the majority of upstate is still pretty solidly for Cuomo. And plus, I'm pretty sure she's from the Albany area, which contributes to her doing well there. But you did also see the New York City machine turn out heavily for Cuomo, especially in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn to some extent, and Long Island pretty heavily Cuomo counties. But what I'm really wanting to focus on is Lieutenant Governor. Do you recognize that name? Of course you do. We'll make videos on her soon. I promise I'll talk about New York. I'll talk about New York for governor, but that's a different story. But even though she's a complete idiot and nearly lost this primary, you saw a completely different coalition. Out of Brooklyn, which Williams is from. That's usually where he runs it up. He ran it up a lot, and Manhattan he also won, which is kind of weird because you think of that as establishmentarian, but there are some heavily black areas of Manhattan, and it's not really establishmentarian. It is kind of progressive, even the people living there. He also won like the occasional county upstate. The really important one is Tompkins. There's a university there, but he got blown out upstate. So that's something to keep in mind. And still, Queens and the Bronx, even though he's like a black nationalist candidate, he still lost the Bronx by 20. So good job. But even on Long Island, he did absolutely horrible in these suburban areas. It was against Kathy Hochul, and he still shit the bed so massively. So you really expect to win a primary with AOC? Like maybe she does like 2 points better than Jumaane Williams in the Bronx and Queens against a generic Democrat. Remember, this was a low-profile race, which is part of the reason why Williams did so good. You know, maybe she does slightly better there. You really think she's going to improve upon these suburban margins? Like, I get a lot of former Republicans have registered, uh, or not former Republicans, a lot of ancestral Democrats who are now Republicans, who are still Democrats, have registered as Republicans, switching their party affiliation. I mean, even Staten Island has a Democratic plurality registration, but I get that's declined in the past or in the past few years, but still, AOC is not winning enough of these counties upstate, narrowing the margins here because there are quite a few votes here. That's the reason why swinging upstate by 10 points does change the state's electoral uh, gravity quite a bit. But if you're doing terribly here, you're doing terribly in Westchester, Rockland, Nassau, Suffolk, Queens, Staten Island. Like you can win Brooklyn and Manhattan, and even the Bronx and maybe Queens by as much as you can imagine is possible. You still are not winning statewide. And the major thing is, I'm assuming that this is against like a backbencher Democrat senator. This is against the Senate Minority Leader, And if it's not against the Senate Minority Leader, because Schumer is removed, it's still from one of the most prominent, influential politicians in New York history. Schumer has been in the Senate since 1999. And you think that a CR is going to kill his political career? Like, this guy regularly outperforms Democrats on the ballot with him by 15 points, and you think that somehow a CR is going to destroy his political career? Like, oh my god. Are these people stupid? Or more than likely, they have no conceptualization whatsoever of politics, and are like, "Whoa, we need to primary the dinos because they decided to, not cause mass suffering in the government today. Oh no, how dare they do the thing that we said Republicans should do just a few years ago, way back in 2023 and 2024? Oh no, oh the humanity, like." It's hilarious. It really is, but it's also unfathomably stupid that the online left is so fixated on this. Like, you think this is gonna fix your party? And like, I, I, I don't get it. I, I don't get what they're doing. I don't get the purpose of this. But like, okay, I'll hand it to you. You really got me now. Let's say that we have a Senate map like this. Um, Actually, we do have a Senate map like this. Um, this is what the Senate looks like right here. And let's say Democrats have a really good wave in 2026. You flip North Carolina, or actually it'd be a junior senator, but you flip North Carolina, congrats. You flip Maine, and even if you have a great year, you flip Ohio and you flip Iowa. I guess you regain the Senate, woohoo! And then you decide to primary out like half your incumbents. So you lose Pennsylvania, you lose Nevada. Honestly, with AOC as the nominee, you lose New York. Congratulations. You're at risk of losing Georgia and Arizona just because of the year itself. You probably end up losing New Hampshire. I forgot that these are supposed to be the junior senators. So, like, what is the idea behind this? Where are you getting this fantasy of like, yes, we prime out everyone? I give you the biggest, bluest wave I could imagine. And still, solely because of these primary challenges, and I can take New York out because you might say that's a bit much, but Pennsylvania and Nevada, and even you can ignore New Hampshire. That flips the Senate, and let's imagine that we have the opposite, a minor red year, minor. Georgia flips, Michigan flips, Maine holds, Ohio, Iowa, North Carolina hold. We have New Hampshire flip to Chris Sununu. Yeah, and then let's assume that Democrats end up losing. I don't know, Arizona because of just the year it is. Republicans are at 60 Senate seats. Why are you doing this? Are you people stupid? Are you dumb? Were you dropped on your head as a child? What? What are we doing? What is this? Why are we doing this? You people, it's. And I don't say you people as in my viewers, because I assume my viewers, they clicked on Testers Done, one of the greatest channels out there that you should totally subscribe to. We're so close to 2,000. But you click on this channel, I assume that you have like brain activity. Like these people, I don't think they can click on a YouTube video. Like I don't think that they're smart enough to recognize, oh, a thumbnail. That's something I want to touch with my finger. Like I don't even think they know what a finger is. Like, I, it's just insane. Reopen the schools. Like the complete lack of knowledge from like the online left on anything political is insane. It's hilarious. And these people have like not even these people somehow think that like they're the gospel on political takes. Like TPC, what an ego he had. Like I've heard from people who have tried to talk him down of his prediction. He was like, no, no, I'm gonna be right. I'm gonna be so right. Like I'm surprised he didn't just like shoot himself on election night. Like the ego on this man to like have no knowledge whatsoever of politics and still pump out his slop for months straight during the election campaign, completely 180 because it gives him views. Like, it's I can't respect TPC as a person or a content creator, and I respect most people on both sides of the aisle. Even Twitter, when I hate people, there's some people I hate on Twitter and who I don't respect. But like, even if I dislike you on Twitter, I can still respect you for like putting some knowledge into your takes. And like, there's some friends of mine who are Democrats, but like, it's just the complete idiocy from this crowd. Like, and the worst thing is, they'll forget about it in a month. So it's just completely useless. So maybe this video, won't grow for a month because people will be like, "What? Chuck Schumer voted against the CR? Wow, no one's talked about that for the last few weeks." So if you're here April 14th or April 15th, 2025, hello, you made it to a month. But anyways, I think that's it. This video is a bit of a shorter one. It's a bit of a joke. I think I'll put Red New York in the thumbnail. You guys like that, or you guys don't like that much, but some of you guys like that. But yeah, subscribe if you are new. It would be great. It would be wonderful. I'll make better content soon. I promise this was probably the shittiest video I've ever made. But anyways, thank you for watching. Godspeed. Tester's done.